there's always last-minute technical issues, but does everyone hear me on the microphone?
Yeah, okay, here.
Oh, perfect.
But it's not loud.
Speak
quietly, actually. Yeah.
Well, we'll use our room voice. But anyway, I want to say good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Institute of Ethnology, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the second African Caribbean Day Symposium. My name is Derek Sheridan. I am an Associate Research Fellow here at the Institute of Ethnology. I am from the United States, and my field of research has concerned Chinese migration to Tanzania, martial arts on the Swahili coast, and also Taiwan studies. I'm wearing clothes today, however, from Nigeria because my co-host, Mr. Ghanniy Oyedele, insisted that we should all wear African clothes if we can, including myself. And he brought this shirt, pants, and like, put the hat somewhere else, from the International Lisabi Festival. Lisabi Festival in Abeokuta, Ogun State in Nigeria. But my own part in today's story begins several years ago when myself and several scholars applied for a grant to organize what was called the Africa-China Research Network in Taiwan. And that was intended to be a local network chapter of a larger network called the Chinese in Africa, Africans in China Research Network, which was a network of scholars who specialized in the multidisciplinary study of Africa-China relations, which is a really big issue these days. And the original goal of this network was to bring together a scattered community of scholars in Taiwan who were studying this topic for the first time, and to begin building a scholarly community through reading groups, talks, conferences, and events. But never mind Africa-China relations. There was no institution or network in Taiwan for African studies in general. There were scattered Taiwanese academics and scattered African scholars based at different universities and institutes around Taiwan, but there was no organization to bring them together. So one of our goals from the beginning, implicit, was to try to promote African studies in Taiwan. We wanted to find who in Taiwan was interested in Africa, including the African diaspora in the Caribbean and beyond. And furthermore, we wanted to take advantage of the fact that there have been increasing numbers of scholars from Africa and the Caribbean undertaking research and visiting in Taiwan, many of them on scholarships from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But beyond academia, we wanted to engage with the broader public. But the question, of course, is what should be the goal and purpose of an African studies in Taiwan? Beyond academia, we wanted to engage with the broader public, including the African and Caribbean communities living in Taiwan, especially considering the lack of knowledge in Taiwan broadly about Africans. Nonetheless, who can speak for Africa and the diaspora is a complicated question with historical, political, and epistemological implications, the subject and part of today's theme. Our hope, however, was to first create a platform which could bring people and voices together, and then to build from there.
Thank you, Dr. Sheridan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ghanniy Oyedele, and I'm not an academic, so I hate reading stuff. But we have to approach Dr. Sheridan because we know the African Caribbeans in Taiwan. But there's a lot of individualism, that is a better way to say it, that people doing their own thing and they just do this stuff and doing this stuff and doing that stuff. So we say there should be a way to unite the African Caribbean and then we can be one voice. And so I was brainstorming this with Dr. Ebede, who is the chairperson of African Caribbean Advocates. And I said, a Center for Pan-African Studies will help. I said, well, there's definitely that in Taiwan already. And I said, no, there's nothing like that. That took us to Dr. Sheridan of the Academia Sinica, and he confirmed there's nothing like that in Taiwan. And we said, how can that be possible? We went through the logistic modalities that could make that possible. We're like, no, this is too much for ordinary us. But we didn't give up. That led to a partnership between African Caribbean Advocate and Academia Sinica with Dr. Sheridan. So we know that it's important for us to be one group, and the Center for African Studies will probably do that for us. And because Dr. Ebede will say, I traveled to Singapore, I traveled to this place. They have African Studies Center there. Why not in Taiwan? Taiwan is supposed to be very good. Yes, Taiwan is good. but they need to know that this is necessary. And that is where we are with the Sheridan. Thank you.
Now, there have been African-themed events in Taiwan. For example, AfroFest starts this afternoon and runs into the evening. And we encourage everyone here to go there after the event. It is luckily close by near Nangang Station. There have also been events and conferences organized by Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and organizations like the Taiwan African Business Association, with the explicit mandate to promote economic diplomacy between Taiwan and African and Caribbean countries. There have also been several academic events, including 3 recent annual conferences on Africa and Middle East studies, one of which was last couple weeks ago in Kaohsiung, and also one at Furen University a couple of years ago. And the topics of these conferences have overwhelmingly concerned international relations and political science. Most of the African and Caribbean scholars based in Taiwan and East Asia, however, are mostly not in the social sciences, but are in the hard and life sciences, engineering, chemistry. Under the leadership of Dr. Louis Pincanieri, they organized WARESA, which holds an annual conference of African graduate students, which was also held at a National Taiwan University about a month ago. But I credit Dr. Ebede and Mr. Oyedele for proposing an event that would be a little bit different, one that would center culture, identity, philosophy, and other larger and more difficult questions. We held our first symposium last year, and we're very happy to have an even larger audience for this year. I would like to thank the Academic Development Committee of my institute for agreeing to support the event financially this year. This has allowed us to arrange catering with Amina Abba's Chimbi Bistro, which specializes in Senegambian food. And just to note, we will be recording today's session, and African Caribbean applicants will upload it to YouTube, so that those who are unable to attend today can still listen to the proceedings. But if you have any concerns, for example, such as not wishing to be recorded, please let us know during the breaks. I would like to extend a welcome to several of our special guests. Mr. Chen Yunbo, from Deputy Minister for West Asia and African Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and His Excellency Kenton Chen, the Ambassador-Designate of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in Taiwan. And we will invite them to say a few words in a moment, but I want to first turn the floor over to the chairman of ACA, Dr. Ebede and
Deputy Director Yunbo Chen of the Department of West Asian and African Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and distinguished members of the delegation. His Excellency Ambassador-Designate Kenton Chen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, colleagues, partners, and distinguished guests. Welcome to the second annual Africa Caribbean Day Symposium in Taiwan. Today marks a milestone to the growth of the Africa Caribbean Advocates Initiative. Our vision is to create a meaningful platform where Africa and Caribbean communities can feel at home, share experiences, reflect on common challenges, and build stronger connections grounded in solidarity, dignity, and mutual respect. While there are many important Pan-African and diasporic initiatives in Taiwan, they have often operated separately and in isolation from one another. ACA seeks to contribute a unifying vision, one that brings our communities together across histories, cultures, and lived experiences. Because divided we are weaker and united we are strong. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the successful inaugural symposium we held last year under the guidance and encouragement of Ambassador Andrea Bowman, former Dean of the Diplomatic Corps and representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. From the very beginning, Ambassador Bowman played an instrumental role in helping shape the direction and visibility of ACA. Among her many contributions, she encouraged us to move from the name Africa Caribbean Ambassadors to African Caribbean's advocates, emphasizing the importance of building an initiative rooted in active community engagement and collective responsibility. She consistently pushed us to establish a stronger public presence through social media, radio, and television outreach, encouraged us to engage directly with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, facilitated opportunities for us to present our visions before members of the diplomatic corps, and even contributed personal support toward advancing the initiative. Most importantly, she stood with us throughout the entirety of last year's symposium, offering encouragement, guidance, and confidence in the importance of what ACA could become. Her contributions help us lay an important foundation for the work we continue today, and we remain deeply grateful for her support and leadership. Throughout the day, we will engage with important conversations surrounding the politics, cultures, indigenous knowledge systems, and evolving discourses of Pan-Africanism. More importantly, this symposium creates a space for dialogue, collaboration, and collective imagination about the future of African and Caribbean communities in Taiwan and beyond. As Taiwan continues to strengthen its engagement with Africa and the Caribbean through education, culture, and people-to-people exchange, initiatives such as ACA can also serve as important bridges of mutual understanding, helping us to foster deeper connection between Taiwan and our communities while contributing to Taiwan's global cultural and civic outreach. I would also like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank Academia Sinica, the Institute of Ethnology, and Dr. Derek Sheridan for believing in this project and for their generous support in organizing and funding the 2 symposia we have had thus far. Dr. Sheridan has conducted extensive fieldwork in and on Africa and has played a significant role in sustaining scholarly and public conversations on Africa-related issues in Taiwan through the Africa-China Research Network and other important platforms. His commitment to these conversations and communities has been both meaningful and consistent. Finally, I would like to extend my gratitude to all our sister organizations joining us today in support of our shared vision and common purpose. WARESA, the NTU Africa Students Association, ACIE, the FIR, Mama Africa, Ghanniy, Higher Roots, and Afrofest. And to all our guests and participants, thank you for being here with us today. Your presence, support, and engagement make this gathering possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. We would now like to welcome Mr. Chen Yunbo, if you would like to give a few words of welcome. Thank you very much.
Dr. Derek Sheridan, Associate Research Fellow, Institute of Ethnology, Academia Sinica. Dr. Ebede, Chairman of Africa Caribbean Advocates. Mr. Ghanniy Oyedele, Secretary General of Africa Caribbean Advocates. Honorable Kenton Chen, Ambassador of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Department of West Asian and African Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, ROC Taiwan, I'm very honored to attend the opening ceremony of the second annual Afro-Caribbean Symposium in Taiwan under the theme of Pan-Africanism. This theme is both timely and meaningful. Pan-Africanism is more than a political idea. It's a discourse of solidarity among people of African descent across the world. It reminds us that identity, dignity, and community are shaped not only by borders, but also by shared histories, cultural memory, and the pursuit of self-determination. Taiwan has long been a society shaped by people from different diverse backgrounds. Surrounded by the ocean, we have developed a vibrant democracy in Asia, while welcoming people from around the world to work, study, and build meaningful connections here. In this spirit, we sincerely recognize the contributions of Dr. Ebede and African Caribbean advocates for your efforts of bringing together African and Caribbean communities in Taiwan and promoting meaningful exchange between Taiwan and these communities. I'm certain that we have much to share and learn from one another, including creativity, resilience, cultural preservation, and the shaping of national identities. Taiwan has a long history of friendship with Africa. Although China tried to limit Taiwan's international space, and Taiwan's official presence in Africa is limited now, we continue to uphold the momentum of friendship through mutually beneficial cooperation, including trade and investment, agriculture, education, public health, capacity building, and cultural exchange. Having worked in South Africa and Somaliland, I personally feel a strong connection with the African continent. Today's symposium brings together important conversations on politics, culture, indigenous knowledge, and the discourse of Pan-Africanism. The symposium today reflects the richness and diversity of African and Caribbean experiences. It also shows how Taiwan can serve as a platform for dialogue, mutual understanding, and future cooperation. I'm confident that today's symposium will help further deepen exchange among our communities and countries, and allow us to explore innovative approaches to collaboration that will be beneficial for Africa, the Caribbean, and Taiwan. In closing, I wish this symposium great success. May you all have fruitful discussions, inspiring exchanges, and meaningful reflections on the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director General Chen, for your warm remarks. We would now like to invite His Excellency Kenton Chen, Ambassador-Designate of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Good morning, everyone. Deputy Director General and facilitators and organizers of this event, good morning. I'm happy to be here and to be given the opportunity to share these reflections. I am pleased with the progress made over the last few decades since Mr. King Douglas, who's taking a picture of me there, and who is scheduled to speak later today, and the other members of Pan-Africana were beating out African rhythms and drums across various venues in Taiwan. It took me a long time to decide what I wanted to say today. I'm not an expert on Africa or the Caribbean or Pan-Africanism. I have not studied any of these formally. I was born, however, and grew up in the Caribbean. I have traveled across the region and reported on it as a journalist, and culturally I identify as Afro-Caribbean. Also, I've had the good fortune of traveling to Africa, and I say good fortune because for too many Caribbean people, Africa is not the easiest place to get to. And the logistics and the costs, they're not encouraging. And unfortunately, Africa is not one of the places that most Caribbean people dream of visiting. However, I have visited Africa 8 times. Senegal, Niger, Kenya, Angola, Ghana, Morocco, Nigeria, and most recently Algeria. I'm aware that these are about 8 of the 54 UN member states on the continent, and that the areas that I visited are about geographical slivers in each of those countries. However, before visiting Africa, everything I knew or thought I knew about the continent had passed through someone else's sea, and sometimes served up alongside the dregs of their own preconceived notions, biases, and their agenda. In visiting Africa, I had a chance to experience the continent, the motherland, for myself. When I first landed in Africa, and this was in Dakar, Senegal in 2016, as soon as the aircraft touched down, I felt something deep, something spiritual, something inexplicable. Something that said to me, this is home. This is where you are from. And in my travels across the continent, I have seen many of the untoward things that we often see in the media. I'm a journalist by training, and I defend staunchly the media's right to hold up a mirror to society. However, I have also seen in Africa other things that we often don't see in the media. For instance, the high level of infrastructural and technological development, not to mention the undeniable power of the African internet, and the African solution to banking and finance problems that still buffer other developing regions of the world. I trust that engagements like these would help to redefine how Africa is perceived. I'm not suggesting that we pretend that Africa does not have its challenges. However, as I noted to an Angolan journalist during a roadside chat in Luanda in December of 2022, Africa, like everywhere else, has its problems. But there is a tendency among some media practitioners, and dare I say, among some people in general, to portray Africa as a land of problems, if not a problem in and of itself. Anyone who visits Africa would know that nothing could be further from the truth. Thank you very much.